So I don't know about you, but my narcissist loved to yell, just all the time. And that was, to me, that was one of the most abusive parts about her, was just the constant yelling and screaming. I mean, just on, there's studies, if you're not aware, there's studies out there that even plants, right? Like if you subject them to really harsh environments or like really harsh sounds or, something that's really stressful, they won't thrive as much and they might even die off. There's actually been experiments with that. So when you're dealing with a narcissist and they're constantly yelling and screaming, it's very hard on your nervous system, just that alone, regardless of what they're yelling about. But when they're doing that, their energy is obviously it's very unsettling, it's draining, it's not a pleasant experience, no matter if they're yelling about you crashing a car into a tree or something, or if they're yelling about like the way that you cut onions or something when you're cooking. It's like, or whatever it is. It's, you know what I mean? My narcissist yelled all the time, and I on many occasions I'd find myself, I'd always be asking myself internally, like, why is she yelling? But many times I would actually ask her, like, why are you yelling? Because there's many situations, in fact most situations with my narcissist, where she's yelling and screaming like a maniac but it's about something that doesn't require yelling at all. You know what I mean? It's not like I did something bad and she's just here to reprimand me or something. It was just like yelling and just constantly yelling. And what's interesting is I noticed, I saw some videos on YouTube here and there where narcissists were like caught on tape or caught, recorded or whatever. And it was interesting to see that there's other people that had the very same experience I was having with the yelling and the screaming. And I saw other people in other videos ask their narcissist, why are you yelling? And I'm like, oh my God, I've been in so many situations like this with my narcissist. Like, we're yelling and screaming. It's horrible. Like, no, I mean, first of all, who wants to be yelled at? You know what I mean? I mean, even in normal everyday life, like if someone's yelling at you, it's usually an extreme situation, right? Like you did something really bad or something, right? Like you're in an ER and there's just so much stress going on. People are yelling just to get things done. But with narcissists, they seem to be yelling all the time. So I thought I'd take a moment and address that and kind of talk about what my theories are anyway. And because first of all, you got to understand that narcissists are extremely insecure individuals, and on the inside of themselves, they feel like they're constantly out of control, right? Like they feel that. Now, they think that feeling is caused by outside sources like you, but it's really stuff that's going on inside them and that they project outwards, right? So we know that. So we know that to prevent them to try to get a hold. It's really about control is what it is with them. That's why they are always so controlling, is because they think they need to get control over their feelings by controlling people in their environment, even to the point of being abusive. And then if you say you're being abusive, of course, they'll say, no, this is totally fine, normal behavior. Even if I'm hurting you, I don't care because I don't care, right? But manipulation, domination, and control is sort of the way the ego mind works anyway. And the narcissist mind, and yelling is just part of that, right? When they're yelling, it kind of gives them like they're in control, right? Like all focus is going to be on them from everybody in the environment, and maybe even the neighbors, right? Like if they're yelling and screaming. I mean, my narcissist constantly is, oh my God, the yelling itself is so draining. It's and not only that, but it's like unnerving. I would argue that yelling incessantly at somebody actually is a form of emotional abuse, because your emotional state is like you're on edge, you're nervous, they're making you nervous, they're catching you off guard sort of, and you're really uncomfortable. I don't think people understand that. Like yelling and screaming at people is like, it really is sort of a form of verbal abuse, right? Like just, it's never a pleasant experience. But with narcissists, I've seen my narcissist would just start yelling and screaming almost in a rage, like a blind rage, to the point where later on, after that little, episode, I would, talk about it with her, and she would claim that she doesn't remember any of that, which I find hard to believe. You know what I mean? Because I mean, unless you've actually got like dementia or something, like I don't know how these people are always forgetting all the stuff that is bad for them, but they remember everything else. you know, you know what I mean? It's like you don't, and my narcissist was also like always trying to control the environment she was in, like in the house, by saying like, "Oh, turn this down," or turn the TV down, even though it wasn't blasting. She would claim that stuff was, quote, blasting all the time, but it never was. I don't like stuff blasting, right? And so it got to the point where frankly, when I was watching TV growing up, I would just put on the subtitles or whatever because I just couldn't take it anymore. Like I was like, fine, we'll make this so low. I mean, I could just turn it and mute it if that's what you know what I mean? Because that's where we were at. That's how insane it was. That's where we were at. And she would yell, can you turn that down? And for me, sometimes I'd actually say, do you not hear yourself? Like, forget about what you're saying, like your volume, right? You're claiming you don't like, quote, loud stuff, but you're the loudest one here. You know what I mean? So it's like, if you want some peace, see, because I want peace and quiet too. So maybe you could just, take it down a few notches and stop yelling. Of course, it never worked. The logic and the reason is never going to work with these people. But yeah, that's a big reason why they're constantly yelling, is just to kind of control the environment, to manipulate people's attention to be on them. It's sort of like turning on like flashing lights and sirens, and it's all about getting attention on them, right? And causing sort of confusion with people in the environment, and getting, again, just sort of manipulating everyone's focus and attention to be on them, regardless of what it is. I mean, we could be talking about, it could be anything, like, again, I mentioned the onions. I mean, my narcissist would yell at the way that I was cutting onions, but the way that I was cutting onions was the right way. I don't know if she knows how to cut onions, but I know, it's like, it's so, it's just one thing after the other. And the yelling is my least favorite part. So if you've had to deal with a yelling narcissist, just realize that, it's not you, it's them, and it's just another way for them to try to manipulate people's attention and focus to be on them. And for them to try to get some semblance of, quote, control over the environment. But what they need to do is get control of themselves. That's the key. But they're not gonna do that. So So anyway, that's sort of my 2 cents on why they're constantly yelling and screaming at people. And with that, we will conclude this video for today. If you're interested in learning more about narcissistic personality disorder, narcissistic abuse, or CPTSD, there are helpful links in the description below. If you're struggling with CPTSD and would like to heal and get your life back, Healing from CPTSD also has a course available that will help you to do that in a simple yet powerful way. All links are in the description below.